Check mic 2. All right. What is welcome back to another drop episode. This is the podcast if you're listening on Spotify or whatever streaming service that you choose to use. Basically this podcast is just where we play games and hang out, and then the games are on the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Man, I actually had this set up. I was gonna start this a little bit earlier, but started talking to my mom. Okay. So, yeah. This is news for today. I forgot if I did this. I didn't do it yet. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, what has been going on? I actually filled up my water right before this, and then I drank half of it talking to my madre. That's some good water. I love water. I cannot explain my passion for how delicious water is. It's so good. Ooh, man, I've been noticing, like, I don't know if it's just, like, how much I've been talking or if I need to do exercises. Like, right before this, I actually did an exercise where I stand up and I go, because I'll, like, bounce. I'll bounce on my feet, and that's supposed to, like, loosen up your voice. But I feel like the way I use it is not how you're supposed to use your voice. Because I feel like I mumble a lot, so to compensate, to compensate, I try to overdo it. And yeah, I'm just saying that's probably not how you're supposed to do it. Because, like, whenever I, like, use my voice, like, I'm, like, yelling at you. So, I think I found the issue. Yeah, so, like, if you see me, like, just, like, talking, like, I talk very loud, because either, I don't know, because, like, if you don't respond to me, I assume you didn't hear me, so then I overcompensate, I guess, I don't know, but anyway, but today I wanted to talk about, stocks, because right now, something that I'm proud of is that my stocks, I have made a profit of $86, I think I checked. Now, of course, it's going to fluctuate. And I guess there's supposed to be, like, a recession or something. I don't know. I don't really buy all this stuff because, like, you know, there's always supposed to be a recession coming up. But, nevertheless, if there is one, whatever. Because the way I invest is long term. So it's called index funds that I invest in, which is a mutual fund, and I invest through Vanguard app or Robinhood. Robinhood is all of my mutual funds, and Robinhood is really good because it's super easy to start. Like, no minimum, and they give you, like, a free stock, which is pretty sweet. It's just kind of like, if you're not going to, let's say the downside is you can't, if you're not 18, then you can't invest into, then you can't invest in a Robinhood. But, I know I know like there's other apps out there like Stockpile. I know will let you like open an account with what is it called, like with a parent, which makes it what does it make it well, basically like it allows you to be able to then invest, but I think you only get I don't know. I think the upside to Stockpile is that it'll let you do what's called fractional shares, which fractional shares, if you don't know, fractional share is whenever you put money just into or like put like $1 into Amazon. Like one stock at Amazon is up at like I think 3,000 right now. Either 3,000 or so like high 2,000s. But like so with Amazon or with fractional shares, then you can buy like $1 worth of Amazon stock. So then you can own, it'll be like 0.0000123 percent of one stock of Amazon worth up to like 2,000 whatever. So like, you might as well like, or I mean I wouldn't advise to do that. Just cause like if you're putting into one company, think about how risky that is. Like I know Amazon is doing really good right now, but you have no backup. So whenever you're investing, what you want to do is you want to invest in a type of way where like either invest in a whole bunch of different companies if you have that much money, because that way like if one company goes down, then you have like X more left over to put into. But nevertheless, like it's just better to invest into like a big portfolio, because still like that's like your money directly. Like you put those exact dollars in to purchase whatever it is stock that you had purchased. So this leads me to say like what you could do is put into an index fund, which an index fund is basically like if a company will buy a whole bunch of like different stocks, or like put into like a whole bunch of different stocks, and you can also put into those stocks. You can do that by the mutual funds that have available. Like they have what am I trying to think of? They have what is it? Like I know one that I do. The number is VT, which VT I think it's, if I remember correctly, I think it's like I think it's just like the total stock market. So I think the way that works is I know like the S&P 500 will base it is like a base of the market, and the reason being is because the S&P 500 is just like a collection of a whole bunch of business of a certain type of business. I think like industrial businesses, and where the economy used to be more like an industrial. I don't know why I'm debating on these. I'm not going to use either of them. but where the economy used to be very, very focused more in the industrial side. So like it would be like the top 500 industrial businesses would be like the S&P 500. Actually, no. The S&P 500 is the collection of like the top 500 businesses in the United States. But there's the Edward Jones Dome, is what I'm trying to say. The Edward Jones Dome is the collection of like the top 500 or top X industrial businesses. And so the Edward Jones Dome used to be the ideal like what you would look at if you wanted to know the health of the economy, because based off of those top businesses you would see information on or you would be able to sort of just like get an idea of how well the economy is doing based off of the health of all those businesses. But actually, you know what's interesting? Like, that's just what I read. Like, I'm not obviously I'm not an expert. You know, I'm sure like just like by hearing me talk, like I'm more just like I read and I studied, but I don't know like what the words mean. It's kind of like if you open a biology textbook and you think you're smart because you're talking about cells and stuff, but you don't really know like what a cell completely is. It's kind of how I am right now. But the idea is just more like I'm just like regurgitating information, kind of like how you would do if you were taking a test, and then just sort of like giving information that I've heard, and then you know you guys can do with whatever you want, because it is good. Like basically the way I see it, like it's the same way that I see a history class. A history class is by no means giving you actual information, because look, I know my history teacher, and all throughout, you know, history, I think besides like grade school, because I can't remember what my grade school teachers told me, but I know like middle school I had this teacher that said, what is his name? Ulysses S. Grant was like one of the coolest, most chilled, laid back guys. She has no idea. Like, she heard that from her teacher, and her teacher probably heard that from some other teacher. So that's kind of like my problem with that. And the other side to that is my high school teacher was very, 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 very passionate in regards to history. The problem is history becomes political, and so like a lot of opinions get involved. And we get opinions, you get people who think they know what they're talking about, who will tell you what is true or not based off of what their teacher told them, based off of what their teacher told them, based off just like a string of teachers that influence in histories, like parents and political parties that influence. You know, everything influences your opinions. And because politics and economics is so tightly mixed in with history, it's very easily to get a foggy view of history. So then I get the question like, oh, well, how would you even know? Well, my problem with that is like, you know, why do you need to know every detail? It's okay to not know history, but look, I'm not saying you can't have opinions or ideas. It's just like, it's like this. Like, you can, you know, you can have opinion based off of some historical fact, but it's more just like, okay, assuming that this is true. It's like that's the key thing. Like, if you're gonna assume something, let me know that you're, you know. So assuming that X is true, then Y. And then make it clear, like, obviously, like, I don't know everything, you know what I mean? I don't know, like, exactly what. This is just what I was told. You know, there's no need for all the high school teachers, you know, bickering on about what they think they know, you know what I mean? The problem with that is we look up to our history teachers so much. Like, I don't know what it is about a history teacher. I think it's just the fact that history, for one, is probably one of the more enjoyable one of the more enjoyable subjects to learn about. So we all enjoy that class because it's um, our history teacher, you know what I mean, like the class that we all love. But also people who talk about history just like sound really, really smart. Like I can't tell you why, but they just do. I don't know. Probably because like whenever they talk about it, like they always talk about it very, very like in depth and passionately, you know. Like they always talk about details and stuff and random little mini things that you think matter but don't matter. Oh, you know what? Here's the other part of it. I feel like if you know history, you hold a lot of like rhetorical value. You can very easily make a case, and because of the fact that there's so much history, so it's impossible for everyone to know every single detail of history. So like I said, it's very easy to make a case, and no one's gonna be able to tell you otherwise. The other part of that are people are gonna be afraid to tell you otherwise, because it's kind of like, you know, no one wants to be the guy who doesn't know. You know what I mean? Truth is, no one really, really knows, because history is one of those things. One, it's written by the winners of whoever won. You know what I mean? It's written by whoever wrote it. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of perspective involved, a lot of personal beliefs involved, a lot of personal things, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying like that you can't, you know what I mean, have like it's not like you can't ever have something that you know is true. Like one thing that I guess we could technically, unless you want to give it into like philosophy, which is like, oh, how do we know that anything is true? One thing that you could argue is like, let's get into that later, the philosophical thing, because I agree with it, but I do think that there's one problem with it. But anyway, so just talking about what was I saying? Just talking about history and the fact that like you can't really know like what is true or not. Like one way that I definitely would like not argue you with, like, oh yeah, like, okay, this person existed, you know what I mean? If you have documentation from this place and this place and this place, like whether it just be like, you know, trade or just to be able to use intelligent or what is it called, like logical deductions. Like I'll definitely hear you at an argument with like a logical deduction, and I will agree with you. Like I'll say, oh yeah, well that makes a lot of sense. But the thing is, like you also always have to admit, like, oh, like maybe there's something I'm missing, especially if you're making logical deductions. Like for example, like how do we know the Barrington Strait exists? You know what I mean? Or like that was an actual thing that happened. And that's one of the problems. People, like, I think that's why I'm so passionate about the fact that history is, not that it's BS, but it's BS whenever people talk about it as if it's fact. Like part of the reason why I'm so passionate about that, is because, like, people, like, you'll have people walk out of history class talking about, like, oh, you know, some guys from Russia were like, oh, look, an ice bridge, let's follow a mammoth across it. You know, talk as if they know what they're, you know, talking about. And that's exactly what their teachers are doing too. They're talking as if they know what they're talking about. But really, we're all hearing this story from someone who learned it from someone who learned it from someone. It might be in a textbook, but that still means someone had to write that textbook. Someone learned that stuff from another person. Maybe you know, use like other sciences, like or dove into like archaeology or something. But you know, it's fine. Like, it's not really an issue. It's just, like I said, like, my problem with it is that, like, you can't really talk about something as if it's 100% truth if you don't really know. If you just heard it from someone, read it in a textbook, and took it at face value without question. So yeah, I mean, not like it's a terrible thing to talk about history. It's just, don't. It's just the way that people talk about it, and I definitely think it has a value in, like, rhetoric, like, because I think rhetoric is a good thing. Like, I think rhetoric is a way to passionately get a message across, in an effective way that will persuade people to agree with you. But nevertheless, I think, like, if the whole world was, like, more thoughtful in their beliefs, like, I do still think that would be a much more better way to go, because you would use rhetoric to say, like, oh, like, I see this and this and this, and then people would listen. They'd make their deductions. They would research. They would look into it because they'd be curious. You know what I mean? They wouldn't just take you at face value, but they would receive that information, hold it, and then pick it apart as their life continues. And then they would be holding you accountable, because then they are research. They can come to you and say, okay, this is not true, and here's why. And then it only benefits you, because it helps you sort of pick apart the holes that you might have had in your previous argument, and just help you build a stronger case for whatever it is that you believe in, or excuse me, or just be more correct. I don't know if that's, like, the best way that I can say that, but yeah, just be more correct. And so that's the thing, like, it's okay to be wrong. Like, I feel like we take life so seriously sometimes. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, that's my beef with with history and history teachers. Like I said, not even history, just, like, our perspective and the way we conversate about history. Jeez. I really need to learn how to speak better. I feel like my voice is starting to become bad. Oh yeah, but I want to talk about philosophy, because there's this idea in philosophy, like, that you can't really know anything, or even if the world that we exist in is a real world. And it's true. Like, in a way, everything except for just, like, the fact that you have a thought, you know what I mean? Everything except for your thoughts. You know what I mean? Just, like, the fact that you are being, I guess is the way that they say it. Like, all this, like, that's what's true. But even though I agree with that concept, it's kind of like, great, okay. Like, I'm not one of those people to say, like, oh, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because I do think it does matter to an extent. Because I feel like that concept allows you a level of freedom in your life to be able to be free from the chains of like, insecurity. Because if nothing is technically able to be known, then it just lets you be able to just be you. Like, you don't have to be concerned about what people think, or any of that stuff. Like, you can just be you, do your thing. So I definitely mess with that idea, but at the same time, it's like, okay, because, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, if nothing matters, then why are we here? And I think that's a wrong way to look at it, because I mean, you could look at it why you're here and then deduct that life is meaningless, but it's more about what is the purpose that you're going to give to your life. Now, you could choose to live like a really sucky life. But actually, the way I see it, it's a more sucky life to think that there has to be a purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather. I feel like it just allows us so much more room, to say, it's okay to not know what is the morally correct thing, and then, just do what you do now, and then in your future, once you learn, forgive yourself then. But in the time being, it's just kind of, it's freeing to be able to say, okay, I don't know exactly, but this is the why I'm here. I don't know exactly why I'm here. The purpose I'm gonna give to me is just to search for just be happy. You know what I mean? Just find to be content in every situation, and I feel like being content for the most part will lead you in a moral path, because I do think that there is a definite this is right and then this is wrong. I don't know why. I think it's because there's a God, but I don't know. But it's like I said, it's okay not to know. We don't have to know all the answers, and I feel like that's part of that reasoning. How do you know that anything besides the fact that you have a thought is true? You know what I mean? And that's some of the deep philosophy from your Greeks or whatever. Stuff that everyone says is crazy. People say it's crazy if they don't, care to question that stuff. You know what I mean? Which is fine. People don't have to question that stuff. You know what I mean? That's just part of people putting purpose to their life. You know what I mean? It's just that's okay. But I just feel like it definitely is a better and more freeing way to live life, of just to search to be content, for example, to be content, not to be a stoic, but to be satisfied and search for positivity, emotions that make you feel good, what are the, if you don't feel good, you're upset. Okay, upset, I think is a word that has a lot of variety. A lot of emotions can fit under upset. So if you're sad, you're upset. If you're angry, you're upset. Typically things that are negative, upset has a negative connotation with it. You know what I mean? So clearly, that being upset or being angry or sad, whatever goes under upset, is a negative thing, and that is something that you should choose against. And that's another thing that this type of mentality that the purpose of life isn't necessarily known, but or you can't really know, but simply to choose to not be upset, I think is just choosing to be a positive individual. You know what I mean? Just to feel content with life. And I feel like people confuse to be a positive individual with ignore every possible bad emotion. No, it's not ignoring it or getting angry about other people. It's about being okay with I'm trying to think, because I don't think I would say that. I'm trying to think like the best way I would word this. I would say that one of the probably most important things is to I don't want to say feel good, because I mean, is that, but I feel like that can get confused. It's not about feeling. I mean, it is about feeling good, but like we have to go further. We have to define that, because feeling good, I mean, like there's different parts of your life. There's family, faith, finances. Like, are you happy with your finances? Are you happy with your faith? Are you happy with your family? Are you happy with your feelings? You know what I mean? With your fitness. I don't know if that's the right term I want to use, but like, are you happy with? Do you feel good about the shape that you are in, or your body? Like, do you physically and emotionally feel good about it? And there's a difference between making excuses and getting angry, and you can tell whenever it's an excuse. Like, I definitely know, like, people who are not fit and are just happy with themselves, and I think, that's cool. But the reason why I want to make this distinction, though, is because those people who are happy with their who they are, and they're not fit, like, they're not angry at anyone. You can tell someone who's genuinely not happy with their body because they're angry at other people for not being happy with their body. See, someone who is happy with them, they don't care about what other people think, and that's what's freeing, because they don't try to control everyone else to make them happy. They are choosing inside themselves. So that's the difference. Are you finding your content from the outside in, or from the inside? And then, in the same way as a leader, being that vibration, something that forgot his name. A guy that was very inspired by Dale Carnegie. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. I can't think of his name right now. But he wrote that book. He talks about the vibrations. Like, you set the vibration and lead by example. Like, set the energy. So if you walk up to someone with a smile, most likely they'll smile back, or they just will feel that much more positive. That's setting the vibration. So are you setting the vibration with your happiness? Are you trying to control everybody else so that they will make you happy? Because that is definitely a huge issue in modern culture. Like, this whole idea that everyone else needs to satisfy you. So that's just why I wanted to make that very important distinction. Because that's just not how it works. It's not how it should be. I don't know if it should be. I mean, who knows what, like, technically should be, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Note on morals too, because that was brought up earlier. So how do you know, like, what is moral? I feel like the best way to decipher that, because really, if you think about it, like, you can trust your religious leaders, but in the end, like, history. It's funny. I was just talking about history earlier, but now here I am. Using history to prove a point. History will show you, and assuming that history is right. So there you go. I got that out of the way. Assuming that history is right. There have been corruption in faith practices and groups of faith. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter if you're getting your morals from a person, or someone's perspective on something, then it is most likely going to be a fault. I'll say this, if you take it at face value with no consideration of, or no thought put in, like if you don't take a philosophical perspective or approach to life, then chances are, like, whatever you're looking at or into, or whatever it is that you're just taking at face value, is most likely there's going to be something there that either you misunderstand in that way, are sort of misguiding yourself, or you're just being told something and blindly following and allowing to guide you. You're getting yourself into trouble. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So how do you know what is a moral decision then? I heard this. I forgot. It's not something that I came up with. Although I think it's really smart and I wish I did. But trying to think who said this. But I don't know. Some philosopher, more modern philosopher, came up with this. So, because I guess there was just like a point where it's kind of like, okay, well then what do we do? If we don't know it's moral, then are we just gonna live like no laws, anarchy? I mean, obviously it's not a good idea. So the concept past that is, okay, so if we don't know, then look at it this way. If the way that you are living your life right now, if every single person in the world lived that way, would the world be a better place? And I feel like, yeah, like that's a much better perspective to look at religion than to, trust in a document that, one, you need to learn how to read. Like, I'm not even saying any of these documents from history are wrong. I think there's a lot of value. The same way that you would listen to your grandparents for wisdom or guidance, it's the same way as you would listen to or look into, like, these ancient texts, because, you know what I mean, if they've been around for so long and they've lasted this long, there's, great value in what it has to offer. But it's just how you take it or your perspective on it. Like, obviously, if you enter a conversation with your grandparents with the mindset like, oh, they're old, you're not going to get anything out of this. You're going to be like, oh, they're old, they're out of touch. You're not going to get anything out of the conversation. If anything, you're going to miss out on really good information. So I mean, the way around that is to look at anything as if it could teach you something. Now, I don't think that was the point I was trying to make, but that's a really good point too, I think. Oh shoot, use the wrong move. Yeah, man, I didn't realize how. Shoot, I've just been. These episodes lately have been very, 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 very distracting. Or very, very, very good. Like, I get really into them, and then I don't realize how long they've gone for. Which is a good thing. So I'm probably going to cut off about here. So as I finish this up, I'm going to close it out. I said this has been another drop episode, or a Pokemon game if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure that you go check out the audio. I know I listen to it just as, like, while I'm working. Sometimes it's kind of entertaining, and every once in a while there's something valuable, I think, that I give not saying like anything that I come up with is mainly something that I've heard from someone else that has given me value. So anything I've heard, you can rest assured, is not coming from me, this guy who decided to work instead of go to college. It's coming from people who have lived their life by this and do have a lot of experience. So it is noteworthy information. And also, I brought up Think and Grow Rich earlier. That book is probably one of the most like influential books that I have ever read, and I think like it's kind of a business book, but it has value for anybody inside of it. So I think if you're interested just in understanding people, understanding yourself, and just how we work, that's definitely a book that you should check out, because it's a lot about just like taking control of your own life and realizing that you do have a choice, even though it comes to like stuff like emotions and stuff like that. So, stuff that typically we forget, that we do have an option, such as like happiness. Like, you don't have to be happy. That's a 100% choice up to you. I was actually talking to someone today about that. Maybe that's what's on my mind. But anyway, if I ramble on for too long, if you want to see more of my content or read my book that I actually wrote, you can download the PDF for it on my website, Joshua T. Bryan, joshuatbryan.com. No www. Just, once again, joshuatbryan.com. You can also see my music there, because if you don't know, I make music, and I'm actually coming out with just a short little EP, probably like 4 songs, September 22nd. More of a leading up, because I have another project, but I'm taking my time with that. But I've already written like 2 songs and a hook for my next one, and they're all really good. So, and that's not even including like a few other songs that I have that I'm gonna release with it, alongside of it. But anyway, so if you want to keep up with all that, there's that, and then I also have a blog up on there that you can check every single morning. I write down the goals of the day. So yeah, like I said, once again, go check it out. There's a link in the description below. There's also other places you can support me. But anyway, so that would be, once again, joshuatbryan.com. Link in description. And with that, I'm going to check you guys later.